in, you will have an increased heart rate, you will have an increased blood flow, which is caused in your brain a chemical reaction. What you've done, what we've all done, is started to pump happy chemicals through our brain. Now, those happy chemicals, there's a wide range of them. So we've got serotonin, and we've got oxytocin, we've got brain-derived neurotropic factor, we've got norepinephrine, anything that gets you, any powerful happy drug, we've just started to pump it through your body. In how long?
11 seconds.
Well, I used 11 seconds for a reason, because the fittest people in the world, they run their 100 metres in around about just under 10 seconds. None of us are world championship sprinters, but we could probably give it a good crack if we got fit enough. So around about 11 seconds. And I'm sharing that with you because when you have happy chemicals pumping through your brain, particularly BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor, shall we say it? Brain-derived neurotropic factor. It's a fertiliser for your brain cells. So we are re-energising your current brain cells, so they are now more open to blood flow, learning and taking on information. The connections between the left and right brain open up when you pump happy chemicals through your brain, and you grow new brain cells. So we don't know yet, but we might have grown 1 or 2 new ones in 11 seconds. Does that sound good? Now, if you've got more brain cells, it means you can take in more information, or you can remember more of what you already know, or you just become wiser and smarter. Does that sound good? Who now wants to sprint again? Because we've got a lot to learn, so we have to be in peak physical learning condition. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Go! 11, 10, 9, faster, 8, 7, 6, go! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, woohoo! Now, for the new people, you guys already know this, but I just want to remind you, I've counted down on 11 seconds. For half the people in the room, or maybe more, that is inappropriate. Because some of you like to count up, not down, and some of you like even numbers, not uneven numbers. So some of you prefer 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Some of you prefer 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Some of you like to count up, some like to count down. Which means every time we do this, we're going to do it differently to suit everybody. As an exercise professional, you have to ask your client, do you like to count up or down? Do you like even numbers or uneven numbers? They might say to you, I don't know, but once they've trained a few times, they'll know. And they'll be annoyed at you if you're counting up and they want to count down, and they'll be annoyed at you if you're constantly doing 10s or 8s or 6s and they're actually liking uneven numbers. Does that sound good? Now, the other thing to be aware of is that not everybody has the same time that they get puffed. Now, I picked 11, but some people could have gone longer, and some people were really puffed before 11. So when you're one-on-one with a client, it's about get puffed, get your breath back, and if you want to go again. I'm just asking you to be really aware of that, and you guys graduated. These guys they're already fully qualified, and yet they're still here at a workshop, which is really cool. But these are some of the little things that sometimes we forget that are really important. So when you're with somebody, it's not about you have to do 10 seconds or you have to do 11 seconds. It's go as hard as you possibly can until you can't breathe anymore, and then stop and get your breath back. And that's different for everybody. Does that make sense? So who's got the most analytical, scientific brain in the room, do you think? Who's got the most C-style? Came in, I think. He's tricked. I'm going to go with that dual because he's got this very sexy phone. He's always got the sexiest phone. Could you please put in your phone an alarm to go off every 20 minutes? We want literally an alarm to go off every 20 minutes, yes. And the reason for that, for those of you who are unaware, people who have psychological challenges and have been told that they need to take some kind of antidepressant drug or some kind of pill, potion or serious drug that has major side effects. I now have 3 psychiatrists who are taking people off those drugs and putting them onto what we're about to do, which is every 20 minutes you get up and sprint on the spot, which pumps happy drugs through your brain, the same as an antidepressant would, but you don't have the side effects of the antidepressant. Is anybody excited besides me? So every 20 minutes we're going to be up and sprinting to pump happy drugs through our brain. Because in this room we're all positive people. Even I have to share this because today's Max Bite. According to the top psychiatrists in the world, mental health challenges come from, you ready? Full responsibility, blame everybody else. The closer you are to take full responsibility to everything that happens to you, the more mentally tough you become. The further you go down to blame everybody else, it's not my fault, the more mentally weak you become. Isn't that interesting? So whatever happens in your life, if you take responsibility for it, you are more likely to be mentally healthy. Now that's just what the psychiatrists are telling me. I like to take that on board because I like to be in control of my life, not have somebody else control me, and that means I would have to be further up this end of the scale. So keeping that in mind, that's what this workshop is all about. So pen and paper and all of your experience and wisdom, because in this room it's really brilliant. Can you please share, Shayla, how young you are?
47.
And this is a really personal question, but pre-menopause, menopause or post-menopause?
Going through menopause.
Going through menopause. Okay, Helen?
66 postmenopausal.
Post-menopausal. You're training women who are?
3 of them, yes.
Who are pre, post, you don't know?
Well, 2 was on post and 1 was on pre.
Okay. And you have a mum who's got some medical challenges?
No.
She's all healthy at the moment?
She's all
That's very
She's
good
more
to
to
hear.
Singapore now, so.
That's very, very good to hear. Your background with women, so you've got your grandma, your mum, yourself, brother, no sister?
Just my brother.
Okay. And your understanding of women and being mentally and physically strong. 0 is absolutely no idea and 10 is I'm fully educated.
I'm not quite at 10 yet. I don't know. If I'm going to be brutally honest, I'll probably put it closer to like a 4 or 5.
And I'm a woman and I'm still 0 because I'm learning every day, so we're on par. Martin, women in your life?
Most of my clients will be females, wide range before what everything I went through and after menopause, definitely. My understanding of it is probably between 0 and 0, maybe 0.1 sometimes.
I have to, please excuse my language, but we have a friend of ours, and he put it beautifully. His ratings on that kind of thing is somewhere between 0 and sweet fuck all. And I think though, if we keep our mind open, if you actually say to yourself, I don't know and I want to learn, that we might be more open to learning. Plus we've got brain-derived neurotropic factor now, so we're going to do well. So we're talking now about, particularly today, about women, but you'll understand in a minute why that may not be relevant at all. K-Man, your experience with women?
54 years worth.
And I know, just like a roundabout figure, how many women do you think you've trained?
Well, 36 of those years has been a trainer, so.
And everything from extremely obese women to elite athletes to anorexic women to the whole pregnant women, the whole lot.
You name it.
And how much do you think you know about women?
Between 0 and...
that's how you should want to do it.
In that case, I'm probably putting mine down to like a negative.
And that's one of the interesting things. Even if you think you know a lot, particularly if you're a bloke, but if you think you know a lot about women, to share that with another woman, I know a lot about women, how would you come across?
Psychologically unstable.
Please take this on board, because I'm sure you've experienced exercise professionals and personal trainers who actually say something like that. They'll actually say, I understand women, and they're a man. Or they've got a pregnant client and they'll say, I understand pregnancy. Like, this is...
You can't understand that.
Thank you. So, Amit, your experience with women?
I've got 3 or 4 young girls I teach boxing. That's the only experience I have right now.
And what age are they?
They are like 16 or 17. Yes.
Interesting
Yeah.
age. For those of us that have ever been 16 or 17, that's a very interesting age for a
Lovely
woman.
girls.
Isn't that the age when you think you know everything?
Absolutely.
But I'm the same. I don't think I know a lot, but every day I'm learning. So yeah.
Okay. And what about the women in your life, like your mum, partner, grandma, aunties?
Yeah, I think. What about them? Just
have they ever talked to you about being a woman, or have they ever talked to you about
No,
any of the
being
things?
from Indian culture, I think that is not very sensitive topic. So it's only maybe my partner or something I will talk to about all these things, but not grandmother or mom. No. Yeah. So in that early young age, I don't think I was like -10, and now having till now a few girlfriends or something, I've understood a little bit about how they go, how the menopause and stuff, everything works, but not a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Helen, can I ask, because you've got a background in oncology nursing, for everybody, so that we know some of the things that you've done. Do women handle challenges differently in that situation to a man? Have you found from a psychological, emotional point of view? Were there any differences between men and women in a cancer situation?
It's a while ago, so it sort of seems to be in the dim past. But I don't know that you can put anybody in a box, say in a box. Everybody, they're all different. So
take note. Never ask a question unless you know what the answer's going to be. And I didn't know for sure, but I was pretty sure, because you're a wise woman, that was going to be the answer. One of the challenges we've got, particularly with the topic for today, is it's about women. One of my challenges with discrimination is that I'm a woman, but as soon as I call myself a woman, I'm automatically differentiating myself from a man, aren't I? So I'm already making myself different, which means it's either equal or unequal. One of the challenges we've got as exercise professionals is we tend to put people into a box. That's an anorexic, that's a cancer patient, that's a menopausal woman, that's a, get in front of the camera, Rowie, otherwise we can't see you.
Around there.
Go over here, he says.
Your shadow there.
This is a really important topic today, obviously, and also very, very controversial. So I have to be very careful. What I'm going to ask us to do, though, is everybody that you ever come in contact with, man or woman, child or older person, cultural differences, and this room is interesting because we're all some very different cultures in this room. Everybody's a unique individual. So what we've got to be really careful of today is that we're going to be talking about some of the challenges that women have. It doesn't mean that men don't have them. Particularly strong women, though, it seems that men have a less... men don't ever want to be weak. Now, I know that women don't say that either, but often women are considered the weaker sex. Would that be fair? Or we say, please open this for me, or please lift this for me, or carry this for me, or do this for me. And even this room sounds a bit, it makes me feel a bit ill because the women in this room are not like that. But we have to be really careful with that, because one of the reasons why men are technically physically stronger is because they lift heavy things. And often as women, we allow them to lift them for us. So when we talk about strong women, I'm actually not talking about women, I'm talking about strong people and what makes us strong. But there are some very unique differences between men and women, and we'll just have a look at those very quickly, and then I want to ask your personal experiences. So obviously, when you're born, the doctor's going to say that's a boy or a girl. Would that be fair? Based on our pure physical appearance. So boys have penises and girls have vaginas, and that's the difference between a girl and a boy, pure physically, not mentally. Okay, so I've got to be very careful. We're now in an era where that crossover is fairly regular. So as you're going through, and you didn't go to school, Lydia, which is really interesting, do we get you're a girl so you have to do that, and you're a boy so you have to do that? Who's experienced that in this room? Okay, so you have to stay inside because you're a girl, you have to go knitting, and the boys are outside playing tag. So we've all experienced that. Even if it's not happening now, we've all experienced it, yeah? And in sport, it's fairly obvious that there are men's sports and women's sports. Would that be fair? There are women who find that very, very controversial and discriminatory, that there are. But is it possible that there are some differences in strength and muscularity between most men and most women? Again, I have to be really careful. Yes? So then around about 12 to 15, depending on who you are and what lifestyle you live in, what genetics and cultural background you come from, men and women go through different physical changes as we become adults, as we go through that process of being a teenager to becoming adult. Now, what's really interesting is how much did we know about that when we were going through it? And I'm just going to ask, when you were, and I'll ask the girls first, how much did you know about having a period and what that was and what was going to happen? Your mum didn't sit down and talk to you?
No.
Interesting. Helen?
I don't recall, but just feeling a bit off colour and then having it explained to me, but I don't recall that I was warned about it beforehand.
Okay. Being warned about is an interesting way to put it. This terrible thing's going to happen to you. And if you didn't know what it was, and one of the movies, it's well worth having a look at, it's a very old movie called Blue Lagoon with Brooke Shields. And they're two little kids who get marooned on an island from children, and they go through becoming teenagers on this island together. And she gets her first period. And obviously no one's ever taught her about what that is. What do you think she thinks that is?
Dying.
I must be dying, I'm bleeding, this is really... And I'm watching carefully because this is an uncomfortable topic for most people to talk about women's periods. Now, if you were brought up in a home where it was normal conversation, you probably still would have heard, and I'm only sharing this with you from experience of chatting to lots and lots of women, it's going to be... Here's the warning. You're going to feel sick, you're going to feel fat, you're going to feel bloated, you're going to get cramps, you're going to get headaches. It's going to be a terrible thing that's happening to you. Is it possible that if somebody says to you a terrible thing's going to happen to you and you're going to feel sick and bloated and fat and get a headache, that will happen? That's exactly how you could possibly feel. If somebody says to you, yes, isn't it awesome, you're becoming a woman, and to make sure that you can have babies and be an awesome creator of other children or just be a grown woman, you're going to have some blood come out your body and it's going to be an interesting experience and just get on with it. Are there women who deal with it differently? And having dealt again with women who their period has never been a challenge in their life, the answer is yes. So there's everything from you're going to be in bed for 2 or 3 days and feel sick and cramped and horrible to nothing. It's just this thing and you just move on. Yeah, would that be fair? That there's everything in between. Now, I'm not a bloke and I don't know what blokes go through. But when you're a young boy, 12, 13, 14, I imagine, and your body starts to change, how do you feel about that? Is it exciting? Your testicles get bigger, you start growing hair, your voice goes deep. See, it's uncomfortable, I get that. But this is a really important point of this conversation. Is it a warning? Your testicles are going to get bigger, you're going to grow hair on your face and on your root bit, and you're going to be a man. Is it a warning, or is it more of an exciting thing for blokes?
I think I should have gone.
I'm asking for a reason.
Point taken.
Is it possible that process for a boy is even treated as a more exciting experience? Oh, look, his voice is breaking, isn't that awesome, he's becoming a bloke, versus warning, you're going to be sick and tired and have cramps, yes or no?
Until the
It
next
depends on who you're asking.
Yes!
Your peers are definitely not as nice when you're going through puberty as a boy, but your parents are very supportive.
Okay, let's look at that. This is really interesting. When boys are talking about it, do you? In the locker room or at school, do you talk about I'm growing hair in places I've never had it before and my voice has dropped and I've got testicles? Is that something you talk
In a
about?
joke or something? Yeah.
I don't remember.
Don't
think they
remember.
talk at all.
Ah.
Girls do more than
So if girls are together and they're talking about it, is it possible that the leader of the group creates a conversation? If she's the leader of the group, and I'm asking you now because you were often put in that situation, if you've had a bad experience or your mum or your aunties or your family have told you it's going to be bad and now you're the leader of a group, is it possible that your influence will then go into that group, that your period's going to be a bad thing? Yes or no?
Yep.
Yeah. Versus if you're with a bunch of blokes and they're giving you a hard time and you've got to man up, harden up and, handle it, versus, and I don't know what happens now either, but when boys are sitting around talking about what the changes are in their body, is it a negative or a positive thing? And if it's a negative thing, are you more likely to take that on into your life about being a bloke? And the reason for all of this, of course, is that strength, which is what today's chat is about, does it come from physical or does it come from mental, or is it a combination of both? So, I don't have any children, so I've got to be very careful. I deal with a lot of children though at a very young age. what influence do we have as exercise professionals, as parents, as you're training young girls now, 16 and 17 year olds?
I've got kids, about 10 kids now, aging from 8 to 12.
There you go.
And to be honest with you, I didn't knew that I was just there to train them. But what parents told me about myself as a trainer made me fall in love with what I do even more. And I was oblivious to that until unless the parents started coming forward and started sharing how much confident their kids are, how good they feel, how strong they are getting, how their body is changing, and how many good things they say. And it was just amazing. Literally, they post my videos on Instagram and stuff all the time. They are like, if we could give you a gold medal, we would give you a gold medal for your tolerance and patience. It's just amazing.
So can you see the responsibility as an exercise professional, let alone as a parent, on how we can, or what influence we have on the way people think, or the people in our lives on the way they think, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's that part of, that's teenagehood. Now one thing that blokes will never do is become pregnant. You'll never have a period and you'll never get pregnant. Now I've never been pregnant, so I don't understand. Good point. Never say never. You've got to be really careful. If you are a woman and you've been told the pregnancy is going to be hard, it's going to be long, you're going to feel sick for the first 3 months, if you're going to have massive weight gain, if you're going to have a really terrible time, and that's your circle of influence, is it likely that you would start thinking that way? You'd be warned about pregnancy, Helen. Versus if your circle of influence are women who say having a baby is awesome, you can stay fit, healthy and strong, you can do whatever you want to do, it's all up to you, and that's the extremes of that, yes? As an exercise professional, is it possible that you'll be dealing with women at this end, which are expected to put on 20, 30, 40, 50 kilos in weight and be sick for 9 months, versus someone who's happy to be exercising for the entire time? Would that be fair?
Yeah.
So you're dealing with both. So can you see, I can't bring my opinion in because I've never had children. You can't because you'll never have any children. And even if you're a father and you've had 5 children, you still haven't had any children. We're often guilty as exercise professionals of saying, I know, I understand. If the only thing you take out of today, if it's the only thing that you take out of today is this, I don't understand. I don't care what you've been through, even if it's identical. If you can get comfortable with, I don't understand, but I want to, please explain, please talk to me. And now when we're talking about pregnancy and women with pregnancy, that's got to be the big thing. If you've had 10 children and the woman in front of you's had no children, you still don't have the right to give her your opinion, even if she asks for it, because she's already got opinions, hasn't she? Her family, her mum, her next door neighbour have already implanted opinions into her head. You'd really want to find out what she already believes about pregnancy before you start delivering information. Would that be fair? Okay. Then comes this, this is a stigma on women, that our period, our monthly period, creates who we are once a month. So in the business world, often women have to deal with, she's grumpy or she's angry or she's frustrated because it's the wrong time of the month. Yes or no? The women are going, yes. And the men are going, oh, isn't that true? Now, the question there is that because we as women say I can't come to work because I'm sick, or I feel bad, or it's the wrong time of the month for me, and we use it as a reason or as an excuse? Or is it because the people in that environment are men who talk about that about women? Or as a woman, is it possible that we could just live a normal life without telling anybody that it's the wrong time of the month, or we're bloated or feel sick or whatever, and that's something we keep to ourselves? And the women that you come in contact with, is it possible that you need to find that out? Are there women who cancel their training session because it's the wrong time of the month? Versus if you ever said that to a woman, are you cancelling your session because it's the wrong time of the month? She'd probably punch you, yes or no?
No, they really do. They've got more power than
But there are females,
Sure do.
you won't even come to know even if they are on periods. Like, they are always the same. There are hardly any change. I was like, at my flatmate at home, literally, she's the same whole month round, or wouldn't even come to know.
You wouldn't know.
No, you wouldn't know. Like, some girls you can literally tell, oh, okay, it's that time of
But there's my question.
Yeah.
Can you tell? And this is why it's such an important question for today, because is it possible that a woman at that particular time, everybody up, And you're going to count, and we're going to go to 19 this time. No, we'll go to 18 counting up. Go. Hard and fast.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Now, for some of you that was too long, because that's just not within your, we call it the green zone. You start to feel a bit sick because it's too long, or you start to back off. When you're training somebody one-on-one, you can't use a number, and that's what we're going to aim to prove that point today. Okay?
Thank you.
Awesome. So, to ask the question, Ahmed, sometimes a woman gets angry.
Yeah.
Is it possible she's angry because she's actually got a point of view and she's angry about something, versus you say to your mate, oh, she's just angry because it's the wrong time of the month? And could you offend her highly?
If anything, it could make things worse.
So,
You're gobsmacked right now. You're like,
So you mean like if a woman is being argumentative on a conversation or something, that could also be possible that she's on periods or something?
it could be, yes, that could be true. She's in a really bad mood, she's grumpy, and she's an emotional kind of woman that gets affected by her hormones at that time of the month. That's that end of the scale. This end of the scale is it's not the wrong time of the month at all. Or it is, doesn't matter. She's just angry about something. And it's got nothing to do with her hormones. Is it possible that there are women who have complete control over their hormones, whether it's the wrong time of the... And isn't it interesting? I'm going to rephrase that. We actually say wrong time of the month, don't we?
Yeah.
Couldn't we say awesome time of the month? This is when you're proving that you are a woman. Isn't it exciting? But we don't talk about it. We even call it, don't we, the wrong time of the month. So as an exercise professional, not only because I've heard too many gym instructors, personal trainers, people who teach exercise say silly things like that. There's a case at the moment that I have to deal with personally, where there's a teacher in an organisation who, one of his students in a classroom of people was grumpy, and he said, oh, stop it, it's just the wrong time of the month, isn't it? Now, in this day and age, that is legally wrong, and you get into big trouble for that. So, as I shared, today is all about I don't understand what I want to, and that everybody's an individual, and that we can't label people with, oh, she's on the wrong time of the month, or she's pregnant. A lot of people say, oh, she's eating because she's pregnant. Well, she might be hungry. She might just be wanting to eat that at the moment. We tend to do too much of this labelling, and that's what today's really all about. So the next one then, of course, is menopause. And is it possible that if your circle of influence talks about, I'm not going to have a period anymore. That's what menopause is, yes? I'm not going to have a period anymore. Now, if you're a woman and that's been a hassle in your life because you've got to buy things from the chemist and you've got to go to the bathroom and you've got to be careful with what's coming out of your body at any time of the month, is it exciting that that won't happen anymore?
I wish I could video that.
So first of all, is that awesome?
yes.
Yes. Now, second, I'm going to watch your face again. Is it awesome that I can have sex now and not have to worry anymore about whether or not I'm going to get pregnant?
Oh, definitely. That has to be a fine thing.
Is that a good thing? But isn't it interesting that when we talk about women and menopause, I've never heard it talked about in a positive way. All I ever hear is, I'm going through menopause, I'm tired, I'm sick, I'm fat, I'm versus, isn't this awesome? Is it possible to go through your period, to go through having a baby, go through menopause as a woman, which is the three things that blokes will not go through? Is it possible to go through all of those and have very little hormonal or physical change inside your body? That's the major question for today. Is it possible?
Yeah.
Helen's going, oh, not sure.
Well, no, your hormones rise.
Yeah, that's what today's about. That's exactly what today's about. So before we go any further, we're going to so I know that what we're working with today, Please can you share with me the challenges that you've heard women talk about in relation to being their physical or mental health? Both of them, because obviously your brain and your body are connected.
Is everybody cuckoo?
Now, we're not talking about menopause anymore, because all I'm going to, this is, and I'll go with the scale again. 0 on menopause is that all of a sudden you just go, hey, I haven't had a period for like 6 months, that's awesome. And you just live your life. There's no hot flushes, there's no headaches, there's no weight gain, there's no nothing. There's just, oh, isn't that awesome? I haven't got a period anymore. That's that end of the scale. And this end of the scale is I can't sleep, I can't breathe, I've got hot flushes, I've put on 10 kilos, I've got headaches, I'm miserable, I'm grumpy, my husband hates me, I don't want to live my life anymore, literally. Because some women will tell you when they go through menopause that they become suicidal. Or their husband does, because of what he's going through. Yes or no? We all laugh for a reason, yes? So is it, all I'm asking for us to consider is that 0, is it possible to just go, oh, I haven't had a period for like 6 months, oh yeah, because I'm 55, 60, oh, I must have gone through menopause, versus I'm suicidal and so is my husband because I'm so miserable. That's the scale, yes? So on all of those things, now, from your personal experience, anything you've heard a woman say, you've heard yourself say, you've heard somebody in your family say, challenges that women go through being a woman. That's what all I want to ask now is just mental and physical challenges. What will they be? Go.
The pains, abdominal area,
Okay, so
lack of energy,
Bleeding too much?
and what would that cause?
It's a question that says, do I look fat?
Never answer it.
So if I put weight gain, can everybody please take these notes because we want to go through them. Everybody's got to have the list, please. So weight gain, whether it's real or imagined.
Pimples? Pimples?
Pimples, yeah. Let's go with the weight gain just quickly because Lydia's new and Felix is new. The fat day. First of all, women in the room, who's had one? You've never had a fat day? Helen, have you ever had a fat day? Every day. Okay, so the next question, guys, please take note, is that one day you look in the mirror and you look good. The next day you look in the mirror and you say to yourself, I'm fat.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You've experienced women say that? Or you've experienced as well? Thank you for being so honest. No, I appreciate the fact that you were so honest. So see, there's the challenge. Exactly. And if you're okay with this, I'm going to go take that a little bit further. What did Shayla do when Amit said he's had a fat day? What did she say? Really? Really weird. Yeah. But if you are having a fat day, is it real?
No.
For you, is it real? Yes.
That's real for you.
So for you feel fat. Yes. For somebody to say, no, you don't, you're just being silly or where or what's going on, and bear with me, this is the challenge. Because somebody that's having a fat day actually feels fat. Yes or no? Just please say yes.
Yes.
Now, the beautiful thing is you can look at it from an outsider's point of view. You can't get fat in 24 hours. So if you look in the mirror, one day you think, yeah, I look good. And the next day you look in the mirror, 24 hours later, and you say, I'm fat. You physiologically can't get fat in 24 hours. You can't eat enough food to get fat. But most of us have experienced that. Well, what happened? Yesterday was great, and today, look at me. One of the words that's used at the moment, I had never heard it before, is fluffy. This is an expression now that people who compete on stage, they say, I look a bit fluffy today, which means not shredded, ripped and buff.
Oh.
And I'm sharing that with you because for them it's real. If you go fluffy, what does that mean? For them it's actually real. They feel not good today. It's just, they don't feel 100%. Would that be fair? Now, if you don't feel 100%, how do you perform that day? That's exactly the answer I was looking for.
Yeah.
So there are reasons why people feel a certain way. And this real or imagined, for the person, you might be imagining that they look exactly the same as they did yesterday, but for them it's real. Would that be fair? Okay. So some of the other challenges that women, you've heard women talk about when in relationship to being a woman.
Expenses. Expenses.
Expenses for?
Body functions, tampons.
Oh, okay, yep. That's a good one. Very good. It's expensive to be a woman. Blokes will never have to spend money on tampons or pads. That's true.
Being very moody?
Yes.
Because you do feel
Mood
very
changes.
moody.
Yep. And if I put real and imagined, because what changes our mood?
Those hormones in our brains.
Okay, I'll give you a different example. You've got the alarm on again for the
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever felt quite happy? Like you feel okay, nothing, not outrageously happy, but you feel okay. And a song comes on your playlist or the radio and it reminds you of a relationship that the person broke your heart. Is it possible that your mood changes because of the music?
Yep.
And you start feeling sad and even down and
All the
you
time.
cry?
I was just dancing while coming. Didn't see Hustle was playing, grinding all my life. Oh, yeah.
So our mood, and I'll go back to what you said before about a woman being hormonal, it's the wrong time of the month. She might have just listened to a song that reminded her of a relationship she broke up and that's made her feel sad. Is that possible? Have you ever been just drifting along and then all of a sudden somebody says, you've just won $1 million?
Wow.
Holy crap.
Would your emotional state change? Would your mood change?
Whole life will change.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So I'm planting a seed for all of this because this is a big one with women. She's really moody because she's hormonal. And she's hormonal because it's the time of the month or because she's pregnant or because she's going through menopause, yes? So thank you, that's a really big one. Any other mental or physical things that women have talked about, complained about, whinge, moaned and been angry about because they are a woman? There's a couple of biggies.
How they look like.
Tired?
So we've got weight gain, but do women talk about their weight, complain about their weight?
Yes.
Yes, no,
Every single one.
And are there areas, please take this in, we have to write this all down, we're going to go through them one by one. Are there areas of a woman's body, do you ever hear a bloke say, oh my inner thighs, they're so fat, or my hips, they're so fat?
Lucky you.
Is it possible that women talk about different places in their body to men that they've put on weight, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what would those places be?
What of the arms, hips?
Yes, so we've got this bit, yes, arms, where else?
Stomach,
The hips.
stomach, legs, thighs, toes, butt.
Now I'm going to clear this one up straight away just in case we run out of time. If a man puts on weight, it tends to be, and he came in and I took a photo of a guy this week. He literally had the skinniest little arms and the skinniest little legs and no bum at all. And he had a belly like 2 watermelons.
Oh, wow.
Not 1 watermelon, 2 watermelons.
Wow.
Like it was difficult. It was difficult. He actually looked pregnant because we took a picture of him side on. And difficult, I think, first of all, for him to even see the ground, let alone see his own penis. There was no way that guy could see his penis. But he had skinny arms and skinny legs. Now, that's a very unusual body shape, of course. But that fat that's sitting there for him, there's the picture.
Did you ask him before taking the photo?
So I'm an exercise physiologist and you have a very unique style. The challenge we've got is that fat for him, now technically you could say that he's not overweight, he's got skinny arms and skinny legs and no backside, but that fat that sits there, what else sits there?
All your organs.
All the internal organs, and they're being squished, literally being suffocated by fat, which for a man is really dangerous. So men will actually die of a fat belly, yes? How many women have died of a fat bum?
I actually said to the woman, it's good if you're putting fat on that because you need it for your reproductive systems.
Whoa! Whoa!
Be careful.
It's awesome.
Are
It's
you
actually-
saying I've got a fat bum?
This is why today is so important. Oi, Is that true?
It is.
It's absolutely true. Could he get a black eye?
I'm good at slipping.
I'm surprised he hasn't got one.
I was saying it to my sister, my girlfriend and stuff. So not anybody else.
There's quite a teenagers.
Please write this down. Men don't die of fat bums. They die of telling their wife that she's got one.
I don't think you got lucky that night, I did.
So the interesting thing about where women put on weight, and of course, I mean, you're correct that we put it on obviously the back of your arms is to protect your chest area for producing milk, and our hips and thighs are so we can produce a baby, yes? Now, women who don't have any babies or don't want to have babies, they get a little bit cranky about that, is that fair? But the truth of the matter is that do women put fat on, predominantly on the back of their arms, their hips, their thighs, and this is a generalisation, and their abdominals in this area, yes? But take note, no woman has ever died of a fat bum. It's actually not dangerous fat. This fat here is very dangerous. Now that's a big difference between men and women, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Where if women are focusing totally on health, the doctor will tell a man, if your waist measurement's more than 100 centimetres, you're in a high risk category of getting all sorts of diseases. But no doctor's ever going to tell a woman that's got a fat bum, if he wants to live and he's a man, that...
Unless he's plastic surgeon when he uses.
And I have to nail that one straight away. K-Man and I, or K-Man's client, who then became good friends of ours, a top plastic surgeon, I would take my clients to him that wanted plastic surgery for a reason, because he would say either, yes, I'll do your plastic surgery because you've been training with K-Man or Rowie and you're fit and healthy and strong, and when I put you into surgery to do liposuction, it's because there's nothing that they can do, because there's some fat on a female body that doesn't matter how much you exercise it, it's not going away, it's their hips and thighs, and what would happen if she kept losing weight, she just gets thinner and thinner and thinner in the face and loses her chest, but she's still got her bum.
Yeah.
So that's when a plastic surgeon will actually do some work. But he would say, don't come to my surgery unless you're fit and strong. Or he would say to them, get the hell out of my office, come back in a year's time when you've spent some more time with Rowie and K-Man, because I don't want you to screw up my work. Because if you're not fit and strong and I put you into surgery, A, the surgery won't work well, and B, you'll just get fat again. Because you haven't changed your headspace, which is just interesting to take note of. So what else? These are some of the challenges with women's weight. That's absolutely true. What are some of the mental and physical challenges that you've heard women talk about in relationship to their physicality? There's another thing that men never say that women usually say. Big one.
I feel like they're going crazy. I've heard ladies say that.
Complaining. No, sorry.
You know, it would be really different.
I love your honesty.
If this was a room of just blokes, this would be a different conversation than if it was a room of just
Oh,
blokes.
yeah.
And what I'd love you to do in a week or 2 weeks' time, we're going to be in Brisbane with the same topic, and we'll film it again, and I'd love you guys to watch it again, just to see what the different opinions are, because it's a really hot topic. What's one of the biggest challenges as an exercise professional when you want to get women to exercise? What's the biggest challenge?
The mindset.
Yeah. I'll deal with that one first. From an emotional mindset, and I'm being very general, but when it comes to logic versus emotion, and this is often blamed on hormones, logic is this end of the scale, emotion is this end of the scale, completely different things. When it comes to exercise, and I'll use a man as the example to start with, if a man's being really logical and it's time to exercise, what will he say? Let's go exercise. If a man is being logical, any human being logical, it's raining, and you're being logical about your exercise, what will you say?
It's too long.
I'm going to get wet anyway, so I'm going to go exercise, yeah? I've put on a bit of weight. If you're being logical, what will you say?
I'm going to
Get it off.
No exercise.
Hey, I'm a bit fat. And excuse my language again, but to get a point across, this was one of the best quotes I've ever heard. Haven't been skipping any meals lately, have you, mate? Which is one bloke to another bloke. Haven't been skipping any meals lately, have you, mate? Which is, in other words, you're fat. And And the bloke turns back and says, yeah, I'm a fat fuck. That's what he said to his mate. Now, there wasn't any emotion attached to that. It wasn't crying or upset or hurt. Beautiful. All right, Martin, we're going to go short and fast. We'll go 9. Back to evens. Only backwards. Yes. Ready?
3, 2, 1, go! 9, 8,
Woo!
7, 6, 5, whoa! 3, 2, 1,
just take a quick note. Can you see why you have to put an alarm on? Because whatever you're doing, you'll get caught up in it. And if you're watching a great movie or it's a great conversation, the time will just go. So when you have an alarm, that's what the psychiatrists are doing. They're actually getting these girls to put an alarm on their phone or on their watch to say every 20 minutes you've got to get up and run around.
I like that. That's really cool stuff. Imagine I have an alarm and every hour to go and just walk around the gym. But then we can do, I like that. The whole gym can go, hey, that's so good!
And can I please share,
like
this has become, I've got 2 students who regularly share with me that they are mentally unwell. And the question I asked, because the reason that the conversation came up was because they are fit and they are strong. But the conversation was, but we're mentally unwell. We get depressed all the time, even though we're fit and strong. What we've just done, can you hear us? That's called blood flow and oxygen. That's called brain-derived neurotropic factor. Now, if you're feeling depressed or down or upset or miserable, or you've had a bad day, or you're having a bad minute, it's about the instant and acute effect of exercise. It's not that I'm fit and strong, it's that at this minute, I'm not feeling good. And it's not going for a walk. It's sprinting, because it's the puffing that pumps those brain-derived neurotropic factors, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, through your brain. That's from sprinting. There's nothing that works better. You can laugh, that'll do, has an effect. You can learn stuff, that has an effect. You can spend time with great people. But nothing works the same as puffing. And that's why the psychiatrists, they're not suggesting, they're using it as medicine. We're not giving you antidepressants anymore, we're getting you to sprint with an alarm. So, as I share with my students, it's not about you're having a bad day. The question is, did you get up and sprint every 20 minutes? And of course the answer is no, because when you don't feel very good, what don't you also not want to do?
Get up and sprint.
But how long is it for? It's not like you've got to go out and do an hour's exercise. How long is it for?
10 seconds.
About 10 or 11 seconds, and that automatically puts you in a different headspace. Now, the other thing that the science is now catching up, and I came in and I've been preaching this for the last 25 years, is what happens at the cellular level of the muscle when you sprint. What happens at the cellular level of the muscle when you lift heavy things. There's a change in the mitochondria of the muscle, and they don't really understand yet what's going on, except that at the mitochondrial level, that sends messages to the brain that I need more oxygen, I need more sugar, I need more glycogen, and that creates a whole new process inside the body. So it's the lifting of heavy things and puffing that creates this new mental strength inside us. Is that exciting?
Yes.
You can tell I'd much prefer to talk about that than these challenges. But the biggest challenge of all, and I'll give you the leading question, the biggest challenge of all for exercise professionals, which we tend not to have with men but we do have with women, is that the major change in our body happens when we get strong. What's the mental challenge or the physical challenge with women in relationship to streak?
Do you think they're gonna go massive?
That's right. So, if I just put big here, please put that in your notes. I don't want to train because I don't want to get big muscles. Have you heard that?
Yes.
If you haven't heard it, you've been hiding under a rock perhaps, or you train at a bodybuilding gym where the women are all large. There's quite a few things that we've got challenges with, and hopefully over the rest of the afternoon, if they come into your headspace where, oh yeah, my mum said, or my sister said, or my client said, you'll remember them. So I just want to make sure that you've got here on your list here, you've got that women will complain about pain from being pregnant, from having that particular time of the month, etc. Yes? We often complain about a lack of energy for the same reasons. Yes or no? We have this major blood loss every month could cause a lack of energy, would that be fair? Which then could do with something to do with iron. So that's why I put that in there. Yes? Our fat days, that's what that's all about. That's Abdul's area of expertise. Pimples is a hormonal thing. Is it? That's just a question. I've got pimples because it's the wrong time of the month. It's an interesting thing to think about. This, I'm going to go even a little further than just the women's things. Women buy 74% of the things in the world. We make the buying decisions for men and women. And the only reason I can share that with you so openly is that comes from the internet, from Amazon. Women, and whether or not they know that you must put in you're a male or a female that's purchasing, but Amazon, the home exercise equipment companies and the telemarketing companies will tell you that 74% of people that buy stuff are women, for men and women. Yes? And then, is it possible, and I'm being very general, that what we buy has a lot to do with how we look and feel?
Yes.
I'll give you an example. Women are buying a lot more in the last 20 years, a lot more shoes and handbags than they are buying clothes. Why would that be, do you think? It's interesting, isn't it?
You don't have to squish in a handbag.
That's exactly right. I can buy a designer handbag or a designer pair of shoes and not have to go into a change room and try something on. I'm sharing that because is it uncomfortable, and I'm leading you now, for a lot of women, the challenges with my clothes don't fit, or I don't look good in my clothes, or women who are trying to squish into clothes that don't fit them anymore. So they spend a lot of money on clothes, replacing their clothes, or I don't feel good today so I'm going to go shopping. So that's what I'm going to deal with all of that there. Yeah, is it possible that a lot of those 74% of buying decisions are made by women who are hormonal or moody or angry or frustrated or having a bad day, so they're trying to make themselves feel better so they go shopping? Is that a possibility?
That is very possibility. She just had her period yesterday and she bought me a Gucci wallet yesterday.
Well, I mean, it's very clear May we all learn from the openness of Amit, who's very happy just to tell the truth, which is really very gorgeous. Did you know now that there is literally a diagnosis, which you can understand now I get very fascinated with, for online shopping disorder? You can now actually get an ACC script from the doctor, and you can call into work. I'm looking at you because you're a boss, it's coming, where people have, my doctor's told me that I have an addiction to online shopping and I'm depressed today so I can't come to work. There are credit card companies who are now dealing with people with this particular shopping disorder, who people don't want to pay their credit card bill because they have this disorder. What I'm asking you is to think about is, if 74% of buying decisions are made by women, that's 3/4 of the population that are buying stuff, and we say that's expensive, especially if she's buying designer handbags and Gucci wallets. Why are we doing that? Is it purely logical, or is there some emotion attached, and what are the emotions attached to that? And of course that goes with the moods and the mood swings and the different places that we put on weight. So, and then the big one here, which is I don't want to do strength training, I don't want to be a strong woman because I'm going to get bigger. Okay? And if you think of any more, please write them down on your list and we'll add them to this list. Okay?
Then you said something wrong.
For the camera, you guys won't experience this, so I would like to include you in this experience. We have many people at Max every year who achieve major athletic performances. The person who we're going to give an award to this year for a major athletic performance, if you disagree with me, please share with me straight away that you think that this shouldn't be the one that we've awarded, because you might say, no, I'm going to win my fight, so it should be me. So, and I'd appreciate that too. One of our students in Brisbane used to work for the Queensland Health Department, and he was 48 kilograms heavier than he is today. He decided he'd go on a holiday, and it was a walking holiday around Canada. When he came back from that holiday, he said he wanted to lose some weight. And on his own, he lost 48 kilos. Last week, he competed in Sweden in November. So you need to remember that month in Sweden. In a 24-hour Spartan race. So from 12 o'clock in the day till 12 o'clock in the day, 24 hours in the snow. And if you know anything about Spartan races, it's all the obstacles. So it's climbing walls and monkey bars and jumping over things, but in the snow for 24 hours. And if you know anything about Sweden in winter time, the sun is only up for about 4 of those hours. The sun doesn't get up till about 9:30 and goes down again by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So most of the race was in the dark, in the snow, 24 hours, but not just running, it was running with the obstacles. And he completed that race.
Wow, that's amazing.
48 kilos lighter than what he used to be. So we're going to award him with the Athletic Performance of the Year. What do you think?
Even if I'm in a 12-round fight, I'll be like, give it to
That makes my 100Ks by walk like a child's play, like literally.
And please take nothing away from march and walked for 24 hours. That's a long time to walk, yes?
Regardless, yeah.
But he did it in the snow, in the dark, with the obstacles, exactly. So keep an eye on the next Max Way because he sent me some really cool photos, so you can see what he's actually doing. So yes, we have people who've done half marathons and Ironman and fighting and all sorts of things. All right, it's your turn. What's your favourite number, Shayla?
7.
And we're going to go up or down?
Down.
Down. Okay, go.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
And what do we sprint for? What's the major chemical that we want to pump into the brain? B, D, N, F. B, D, N, F. Brain-derived neurotropic factor. Fertilizer for your brain. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, now, we're going to go through each one of these. If you had a solution, if you had the answer, the free answer to every single one of those, as an exercise professional, as a parent, as a teacher, as a coach, would that be awesome?
Yes.
Here's the ultimate situation. That every man, woman and child from this day forward to ever live on the planet. Now I'm being hypothetical. You've just dropped some size there.
Only 7 seconds.
Have some noodles.
I need to bulk up.
Don't like the way he says it, I need to bulk up. Plenty of things to bulk up on. Very good. Alright, so here's my question. And you can see I like scales. The scale we're going to look at, and I don't like to, I get accused regularly of being an optimist, of being too happy, of being unrealistic, and it's not possible. I get accused of that all the time. But what I'd like us to think about today is if it was possible, I'm not saying that it is, I'm just saying if it was possible. Zero end of the scale is that as a man or a woman, I'm sick, I'm diseased, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm overweight, and I get coronary heart disease, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, I'm depressed, I have a stroke or cancer, I have a terrible life physically, and because of that I'm also depressed and anxious, which means I've got mental health challenges as well. Yeah? So that's 0. 10, I'm going to use as the ultimate scale on this, is that everybody, man, woman and child from this day forward, is healthy. So we'll look at the internal body systems. I've got strong bones, strong muscles, a strong heart and lungs, cardio and respiratory system. I've got a strong hormonal endocrine system. And please write this down. I am in control of my hormones. My hormones are not in control of me. Just write that down as a statement. I am in control of my hormones. My hormones are not in control of me. Remember, I'm being hypothetical and optimistic and positive, but just let's say that was possible. So that's my endocrine system. My digestive system, so everything, I'm pooing regularly, my vitamins, minerals and phytochemicals are being distributed throughout my body to all the right places, which would mean I wouldn't need Shayla's product because I wouldn't get a cold. I would have a strong immune system so I didn't get sick. I would have great hair, great skin, great nails, great teeth, because because your digestive system is responsible for getting all the stuff that keeps you healthy out to all the right places, yes? So I'll start again. My muscles and bones are strong. My heart and lungs are strong. My endocrine system, my hormones, I'm in control of them, they're not in control of me. And my digestive system is working to get everything that I need into all the right places. And my central nervous system, which is ultimately the control of my entire body, that's working because my brain, I am in control of what's going into my brain. Now here's a great question. Can I control what's going into my brain?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you all agree?
Yes.
It's interesting, isn't it? Now you don't have to agree, I'm just going to ask you to consider, can I control what's going into my brain? I'll take it a step further. Can I control how I react or respond to what's going into my brain? So even if this, let's just say this was a group of negative people, which it isn't, but let's just say you had to hang out with a group of negative people. You didn't want to, but you had to, and every single person was whinging and moaning and complaining and telling you how terrible their life was. Could you choose to still be the positive person in that group?
Yes. Yeah.
Would that require mental toughness and mental strength?
Yes.
So, here's the question. Is it possible, hypothetically, for every man, woman and child from this day forward to be mentally and physically strong and tough and to have all of that working inside their body?
Yes.
Is it possible?
It is possible, yeah.
As exercise professionals, parents, teachers and coaches, if it's possible, how could we make it possible so it's realistic? That's what we're going to brainstorm, okay? So, all of those things could be wrapped up in all of the body systems. Would that be fair?
Mm-hmm.
So every single one of those challenges is either a mental or physical challenge, whether it's bones, muscles, hormonal, digestive, or mental. Would that be fair? All right. So, this is where it all gets really exciting. How do I make the human body physically and mentally strong? So that means the brain and the body. And we have to take this step by step again. All of these challenges, and I'll add to that women get osteoporosis, they get cardiovascular disease, they get depressed, they get anxious, they have a stroke, they have Alzheimer's, dementia, all of that. Women get all of that, but so do men as well. I'll just add all of those challenges in there. Is it possible that every man, woman and child from this day forward, if we could sort the internal human body, mental and physical, that we could get rid of all of those challenges? In fact, for today, I'm going to get you to write them down, so you've got a list of them. Go to another page, and we're going to just list out the major killer diseases. Number one is heart disease. However, the cardiovascular disease people are arguing, so the type 2 diabetes people and the stroke people are arguing that they kill more people than heart disease. So just put all three of them: heart disease, type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular vascular disease, which is stroke and type 2 diabetes anyway. 1 in 3 people get osteoporosis, bone thinning disease. Did you know now we've got teenagers with osteoporosis?
Whoa.
Really?
Osteoporosis is caused by inactivity where your your muscles aren't pulling on your bones, so they don't get strong. So what are our kids doing now? What are they doing?
Sitting.
Sitting on the video on the lens.
Sitting,
iPads, cartoons,
sitting,
and
sitting. So what happens if you, and I've sent all of you all of this information from all these top scientists in the world, if you go into hospital for 1 week, you will lose bone mineral density of 1 decade of a normal active person. In 1 week, you will lose the bone mineral density of what happens in 10 years. Yes, if you're inactive in hospital. The interesting one I've sent you all was a research done, they took university students, because that's where they do studies on, they took a group of 30 active male university students, active males who were weight training, playing football, etc. And they made them live the life of an inactive person for 1 week. So they had to take the escalator, not the stairs. They had to sit all day long. They weren't allowed to move. They just lived the life of a wake up, sit in the chair, sit in the office, sit in the car, sit in the office, sit at the table, sit at the dinner table, go to bed. They had to do that for 1 week. And in 1 week, they lost bone mineral density of 1 decade of an active person.
Wow.
That's not my words. That was they tested their bone mineral density at the start of the week, and they tested it at the end of the week. How quickly do we waste away?
Very quickly.
If you've ever been in hospital and you've been lying down for 1 week, how do you feel when you stand up, Helen?
Twice as heavy.
My body composition changed being not a vegetarian and being a vegetarian. So imagine being not doing anything for a week, and your body will definitely change.
Okay, so this is one we didn't chat about, which is really important with women. What's this all about?
Oh, well, yeah.
Who goes on the most diets, who goes on the craziest diets? Now we can say we all do, but who makes 74% of the diet buying decisions? So if mum's decided to be vegetarian, what happens to the rest of the family?
Goes on a vegetarian diet.
If mum's on a ketosis intermittent fasting diet, what happens to the rest of the family? If mum's on a low carb, low calorie diet, what happens to the rest of the family? Interesting. So I'm going to ask the question again, and we haven't finished this list yet. So we've got coronary heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, Alzheimer's and dementia, and depression. Cancer and stroke. Stroke really goes in with vascular disease. And obesity, which you could really put into eating disorders, which I don't like to use that terminology. Eating challenges is often what I call it. So where food is controlling your life, so you either become morbidly obese or anorexic, bulimic, exercise bulimic. So have a look at that list. If you could be in control of your muscles, your bones, your cardiovascular and respiratory system, your digestive system, your endocrine system, your central nervous system, would you be more or less likely to get any of those diseases?
No.
Let's just say the worst one, which is cancer. 80% of cancer, which is not my quote now, this is medical professionals will tell you that 80% of cancer is caused by inactivity or an unhealthy eating plan or a combination of both, which means 20% of cancers are, you could call unlucky.
Genetic.
Is it possible that if you have strong muscles, bones, heart, lungs, endocrine system, digestive system, and strong central nervous system, that you'll get through your cancer easier, better? I'll give you an example. Are there people that have been diagnosed with cancer, you're going to die in 6 weeks and they live for 60 years? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Helen? Is it possible, again not my quote, that you would get through your chemotherapy, radiography, all of the toxic chemicals that they put into your body to fight cancer? Is it possible that you would cope with all of those better if you had a strong bones, muscles, mental health, endocrine system, digestive system, yes or no? Interesting, isn't it? As exercise professionals, what do we do? So I'm going to go with the two big words, and if you please take these notes. Big words: fit and strong. Fit and strong. Fit and strong. And the reason I'm not talking about food, and I know that it's going to be controversial because most people, when we talk about these two things, they want to include nutrition. And there's a lot of argument about it's 80% nutrition or 80% food and 20% exercise, or it's 50% food and 50%. You've heard that? There's always a percentage of. I'm going to ask you this very controversial question. Is there any food or any diet or eating plan that will make you physiologically fitter or stronger?
No.
Is there anything that you can eat that will make your heart and lungs fitter and your muscles and bones stronger?
Stone Age hunting diet.
So, just to push the controversy aside, though, is it to be fit and strong, do we need to fuel effectively?
Yes.
Yes. Now, if you're going to have a look at the vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals and fibre and all the things that you put into your body so that you can be fit and strong, where does that come from? That comes from our food, yes? But again, to avoid controversy, if you've ever, and most of you have all been training people, and even you, Lydia, you're currently training people and you've been training kids from a long time, haven't you, exercising them? How many times do we tell people you can't have, mustn't have, shouldn't have, don't have the things that you love to eat? One of the reasons why I always bring chocolate and lollies to an event like this is most people like chocolate and lollies, but there's always a guilt attachment. You know, I shouldn't eat them because they're bad for me.
No.
Or they're that's what I love. And they're a bad food. Most people love lollies, chocolate, biscuits, cake, chips, takeaway food, deep fried food, whatever your favourite thing is. Most people really love those kinds of foods. There are very few people that love to eat just green vegetables, yes? Yep. And I know there are some, but they're very few. But if you say to somebody, you can't have, mustn't have, shouldn't have, you're a bad person if you eat lollies or chocolate or takeaway food or any of those things. So now we place in their head, you can't have. And then to get fit and strong, you have to do a big, long, boring exercise program 3, 4, 5, 7 days a week that lasts for an hour. How many people are sticking to that?
Maybe none.
Well, have a look at the list in front of you. See those killer diseases? They're pandemics. Every single one of those now in the Western world is no longer an epidemic. It's a pandemic. That means it's out of control. The people, the experts in those areas, and I listen to them, they're boring as all hell. Like, they're really boring to listen to. And here's the reason why they're the most boring, because they don't have a solution. All they're talking about is controlling them. They don't know how to. They're just going, what can we do so that it doesn't become something the government can't afford to do? I'm telling you, all of you, and now particularly you, Felix, because you're our conversation from the break, what an amazing young man you are. Can I quote you on the, I don't just fix cars, I...
Fix people.
That's what we all do. That's what we're here for, because we want to help people, yes? So we all have the ability, all of us, to get rid of all of those. Because if I'm mentally and physically fit and strong, what will happen to coronary heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, stroke, Alzheimer's, dementia, and all of these challenges? What will happen to them?
They'll walk away.
Woo!
Walk away.
Now, if I can get somebody fit and strong, and you got the people that have already training people, if I can get somebody fit and strong, instead of telling them what they can't have, mustn't have, can't eat, if I can get them fit and strong, are they more likely to change their diet on their own?
Yes.
Have you ever experienced that, where somebody's gotten really fit and they've said, well, I've stopped eating crappy food because I don't like it anymore?
But anyhow, their basal metabolic rate is going to go high and they can enjoy whatever they want.
Interesting. Which is now where we're getting into the very important topic of the endocrine system, which is the hormonal system, which is what women have supposedly, and I say this very hesitatingly, women will tell us that they have the biggest challenges with, it's not me, it's my hormones. What was the quote though for today? I want to be
In control of
my hormones, not...
My hormones being in control of me.
Okay, so we're going to wrap all of this up because this is the easy part. If I can get all people, men, women and children, fit, and I can get them strong, let's have a look at fitness with all of these challenges. So my heart and lungs and my respiratory system is working really effectively to get blood, oxygen and nutrients throughout my entire body. What will happen to my immune system?
Great.
What will happen to my chances then of getting the big killer diseases?
0%.
I'm going to beat this clock. Turn it off. Everybody up. I'm going to go with my favourite, 13 and count down. Because everyone thinks it. Haven't you heard that? 13 is an unlucky number. If you believe it's unlucky, what's going to happen?
Everybody.
On your mark, get set, go. 13, 12, 11, 10, faster. 9, 8, 7, go, go, go. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, woohoo! Now, the power of what we just did. Not 30 minutes of exercise, not a 45-minute boot camp, not a 1-hour walk. The power of what we just did, the acute effect of exercise, not that it's gorgeous, as in cute, but the immediate effect of exercise. What did we do?
Release great
Tropic factors, that's it. I call it happy. I pumped happy chemicals through my brain. Does that sound good? I pumped happy drugs through my brain. Yeah? That's number one. That's the immediate effect. If you want to get people fit though, is it how long they exercise for or how hard they exercise for? Which one? See, the challenge with long, the further I get away from short to long, there's two major challenges. What are they?
It's long.
Which means what? Boring, time consuming, less likely to do it. So, and I'll give you the importance of this. If you might not have heard this. Sometimes it's a bit, when it hits you in the face, it's a bit scary. The World Health Organization, when you started the program, even when you started the program, it was 90% of, rephrase, 10% of people in the world have an exercise program of any value that will keep them fit for the rest of their life. 10%, yeah? Guess what it is now, 2 years later?
5%. It's gone down.
Do we have more people?
Yeah, we do. But percentage hasn't changed. What the challenge is not only do we have less people exercising, but there's a news, I've never heard this stat before, from the World Health Organization, 40% of people are actively deciding never to exercise. They don't want to, 40% of people don't ever want to. So, here's the challenge. 0. The further you get away from 0, because 40% of people want to do 0. The further you get away from 0, what happens?
It's likely they're going to stick.
The more people are going to go, no, I don't want to do it. Less people. Do we get this? It's really important. If you really believe that to get people fit and strong will help with those, we have to really consider what fitness is all about. Now, if you add to that, I'm a woman. It's the wrong time of the month. I'm hormonal. I'm cramping. I've got a headache. I feel sick. I feel fat, whether it's real or not real. I'm pregnant, so I'm going to put on 30, 40, 50 kilos. I'm hormonal. I'm eating for 2 people, so I need to eat 50,000 calories every day. I'm menopausal. I feel sick. I feel tired. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I don't like my life because I'm menopausal. If you add that to I don't want to exercise, now what? Or you have to exercise because otherwise you're going to be fat and sick and weak. And you have to go for an hour and you have to do 27 exercises, 3 sets of 10, and you have to go 3 times a week. Chances? I wish we could have... Your face, Helen, that was just beautiful. Can you see why it's not working? We're not going to get anybody fit and strong, let alone hormonal women who don't feel like it. Remember I asked you the question, if a man and it's raining and he's logical, I'm going to go anyway because I'm going to get sweaty. A woman that's hormonal that doesn't feel like it, even if it's logical to go exercise, will she?
No.
Thank you. So how close is 10, 7, 9 seconds to 0? Pretty bloody close. What happens if I exercise for 7, 9, 10, 11 seconds? Hard. What happens? Happy drugs pumping through your brain. Now, to get fit though, this is pure physiology, to get fit I have to get, I'll rephrase it, I have to overload. Nobody's going to argue that if I go for a gentle walk and I'm not increasing my heart rate at 20, that I'm going to get fit. Now, for an obese person, 150 kilos, to go for a slow walk will do what? I watched a lady in the airport yesterday. She was taking up 2 seats to get on the plane. For her to walk, she was getting puffed. She was walking like this. She's lifting each leg's going to be like 70 kilos. When she's walking, she's getting puffed, which is awesome. But for you guys to go for a walk, that's not exercise for you. That's not fitness for you. To get fit, you've got to overload. Yes? Now, this is the second part. The further you get from short, what happens to the intensity of the overload?
Decreases.
Mentally and physically. Now, you've all heard this. If we're going to go out and run 10Ks right now, how fast do you start off?
Very slow.
Very slow.
Versus we're going to do a 50-metre sprint. How quickly do you go? When we're just going to do one, you've got to put all the effort in. Which is exactly what we're doing. This is the exciting thing about fitness. The acute, immediate effect of fitness is that when you get puffed, you pump happy drugs through your brain. You feel good straight away. Now, the beautiful part of that is you get your breath back. Now, I'm going to use the toilet analogy. Get ready, Felix, you will not have heard this one, but you're going to get it because you're a mechanic. How many of you have ever done a number 2 in the toilet, obviously, and you've pressed the button and it didn't all go away. Yes or no?
All the time.
So you're like, let's go. So what's our first
I've even
response?
been like, let's go.
So there's a challenge, especially if it's someone else's house. You definitely can't leave it there, yes? So you have to press the button again, don't you? So when do we want to press the button again?
That's regular.
No. When do we want to press the button again? When do we want the poo to be gone?
Straight away.
We want the poo to go
Yeah.
now. Go. But every time you press the button, what happens to the pressure of the flush?
Then completely decreases.
It completely decreases. When will the only time be that you'll get full pressure again? Because it's exactly the same. If you want to, when you sprint, and Olympic sprinters don't do a 100-metre sprint and then do another 100-metre sprint. They do a 100-metre sprint and then 5 days later they do the semi-final and then the grand final. Yes or no? They fully recover before they sprint again. Now the beautiful thing about sprinting, especially when you're fit, by the way, is you recover really quickly. Yes, but please take note of this too. How long does it take to get puffed for everybody, whether you're fit or unfit?
Not very long.
Not very long.
7, 10, 15. You go as hard as you can. Doesn't matter how fit you are, you'll get puffed.
Yes.
The only difference is how long it takes you to recover. But with our hormonal cranky women, I can't do anything. One sprint's good, and then do another one in a couple of hours, and then another one in a couple of hours, or another one in 10 minutes, or another one when you. But what have you got to be? Fully recovered. Which is why every time we've got up today, you can go really hard. If I said we're going to do 10 sprints for 10 seconds, you're all going to pace yourself because you know you have to do 9 more. When you're only going to do 1, you can put all your effort in. Does that make sense? Now, let's put all that together. To get fit, you have to overload. To overload means you get puffed. When you get puffed, you pump happy drugs through your brain. Yes? Now, let's talk about the big one. This stuff that sits here, this stuff that sits here, this stuff that sits on the inner thigh. Yes? Fit people, men or women, but fit people who get puffed on a regular basis, they overload their cardiovascular and respiratory system. What happens to their ability to burn fat and at what speed?
It becomes a V8 engine. Just burns fat straight away.
So what session are you up to, Lydia, in the program? What session are you up to?
I'm still quite early. I only just started a few days ago.
So
I was so focused.
No, we're good because this will be exciting news for you. Okay. So to get fit, I've got to get puffed, and to get puffed requires effort and overload. When I effort and overload, and my body becomes more effective at reproducing oxygen and carbon dioxide through my body, so now I'm a fit person, my body turns into, you'll hear this all the time, Lydia, a fat burning machine. Now, what you should ask now is how does that happen and why does it work, or why are we doing that and how does it work? When you are fit, your body has now, we only have how much carbohydrate storage? Around about half a kilo is a really nice way to put it. You can only store half a kilo of carbohydrate, and that is stored in your brain and in your muscles as glycogen and in your liver as glycogen. That's only half a kilo of your entire body weight. You've only got half a kilo of carbohydrate. How much fat can we store?
As much. Millions of cells.
My lady yesterday, for her to be that big, she hasn't just got bigger fat cells, they haven't just hypertrophy, they've split in half and she's made more. Because we have the unlimited storage for fat, yes? So if you've got a really fit body, and now I'm not sure if the mitochondria talks to the brain talks to the mitochondria, what goes on, I'm not sure how they talk to each other, but it goes a bit like this. Hey, if you're going to keep doing this fit stuff, I have to conserve the carbohydrate because I can only store 500. So I'm either going to eat a stack of lollies, so I've got a constant flow, and your elite athletes do that are constantly moving. They have to keep eating carbohydrate because they can't get enough of it. Says Felix, I'll have another chocolate, awesome. But what I've got to do now is I've got to conserve the carbohydrate I want to burn the fat because I've got unlimited storage for fat, but I've only got half a kilo for carbohydrates. So I don't know how the communication goes about, but it's called your respiratory quotient. Your percentage of fat versus carbohydrate, and your body will always burn a percentage of the two. The body says, hey, let's conserve the carbohydrate and let's get rid of this fat stuff when you're fit. Is that exciting to anybody?
Yes.
Fit people burn a higher percentage of fat than they do of carbohydrate. Because you want to store the carbohydrate, because every time you get up to sprint, turn it off, let's go. See, every time we've done this, your brain's gone, oh my goodness, we've got to do this again. This requires what? When we're sprinting, what's the only energy source? The only energy source is carbohydrate. Pick your, Felix, what's your favourite number?
8.
All right, counting up, go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Woohoo! Stored phosphate first, then carbohydrate. Isn't that exciting? Have a seat. So fit people have instant, the more often you get puffed, the more often you pump happy drugs through your brain. You turn your body into a fat burning machine because your body prefers to burn fat than it does to burn carbohydrate. Is that exciting? So, if I'm a woman and I've got fat on my ass and fat on my inner thighs and fat on the back of my arm, I'm sharing this because most exercise professionals screw this up. You can't spot reduce. Body can't take fat for a certain area. It's true. If I stood here and did this, I'm not burning fat off my arm, am I? Oh, look at that fat exploding off my arm.
Just gonna create a burning sensation, that's all.
For Lydia and Felix who are new though, have a look at this movement, which is not much different to this movement.
Yeah, but, we actually spoke about that at work just not too long ago. Like why we don't do sit-ups, because like nothing really happens. It's like just doing this for ages. Sure, you'll get tired eventually. You might get a little burn, but nothing is happening.
No fat's coming off here.
Exactly.
So, but if I'm a fit person and my body's a fat burning machine and it prefers to burn fat, where do women store their fat? So rather than telling a woman that she can't spot reduce, what about saying to her, when you're fit, you're going to burn fat off your whole body, which includes your, huh? Yes or no?
Yes.
So it's not about little exercise, it's about how fit you are, yes? Is anybody as excited as me?
Yes.
If every woman in the world had happy drugs pumping through her brain every 20 minutes, and her body was a fat burning machine, and she was fit. Now, here's an interesting thing about fit people. You've got a challenge in your life, but you are capable of sprinting for 10 seconds or doing a 24-hour Spartan race or walking for 100 kilometres or running half a kilometre even though a half marathon even though you shouldn't be able to because your knees are screwed up. You know all the things that fit people can do? Love you too!
Not reflections.
What happens to your mental strength when you're fit?
Get stronger.
How much stronger do you reckon Robbie is now that he's done a 24-hour Spartan race in Sweden in winter? What else can I do? When you run across the line for a marathon or half marathon and you've done it and you weren't supposed to be able to do it because somebody told you that you can't do it because your body's not built for running, how do you feel?
Awesome. You signed up one of the ones.
You didn't want to do marathon when you went across the line. Yeah, but how did you feel?
Sprint
Yeah, the last few hundred meters you even go faster.
Is it possible that a woman that is hormonal, angry, grumpy, frustrated, wrong time of the month, menopausal, etc., if she were to get really fit and to pump happy drugs through her brain, turn her body into a fat-burning machine, and to be able to overcome major challenges because she's fit, is it more likely that she'd be able to handle the wrong time of the month or pregnancy or menopause more effectively? Please say yes. Now, Helen, who's lived the most years on the planet besides me in this room, are there going to be, is it possible that there are going to be challenges in our lives?
Yes.
Is it possible that even with the most positive attitude that you could get a cramp or a headache or a bloated stomach when you have wrong time of the month?
Yes.
Or just call it, it's my period. Is it possible that you go through the menopause and you have some kind of physical pain or challenge, yes or no? Is it possible, however, that if you are fitter, you'll handle it better?
Yes.
Oh! How do we get people fit?
High intensity.
But
Please take away from today that the further you go away from zero, the more likely or less likely people are to do it. Yes? Now that's for the 90% of people that don't like to exercise. You might come across somebody that loves to exercise and they love to go to the gym 5 days a week and they love to.
Yeah,
That's cool. Ask them. But before you deliver, you have to go to the gym 3 times a week, do 27 exercises, and here's the better question. How little can I do to get the best result? And I'll rephrase that because regardless, somebody says to you, I like going to the gym 5 days a week for 2 hours and I like to ride my bike for 200 kilometres every day and I like to go for a marathon run every Saturday, Sunday. Let's say you come across that person, yes? Is it possible that sometime in their life they won't have time to do that?
Yes.
If you come across a 20-year-old woman who's doing that, is it possible that when she's pregnant she won't have time to do that, or when she's got a baby she won't have time to do that? Is it possible if she becomes a business entrepreneur and she's running a multi-million-dollar company that she won't have time to do that?
Yes.
So isn't our responsibility then that the people that love to exercise for hours and hours, they'll figure that out for themselves? Would it be better for us to decide what's the least amount you can do to get the best results possible? Would that be fair? All right, so now that's just fit. Will I get mentally tougher though if I'm fit?
Yes.
Let's put this into perspective, and Martin put it beautifully. I've just run 40 kilometres. Every muscle in my body is aching. I've got sore joints. I'm tired. And then you think to yourself, I've got 200 metres to go. You think you can't go any further, but all of a sudden you get this burst and you sprint the last 200 metres. Does that make you mentally tougher?
Yes.
If we're sprinting and somebody's picked 18 as the number and you're at 16 and you think you can't go any further than 16 seconds, but you really push yourself and you do 2 more seconds, you get physically fitter, but what happens to your mental strength? You think you can't go any further, but you just do a little bit more. What happens to your mental strength?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah! So if we can do that for all women, all children, all people, and this is the challenge with big, long, boring exercise programs, we never put them into that situation. It's every step that you take after you think you can't do any more. Every sprint that you do after you think you can't do any more, that's where your fitness comes from, but that's where your mental strength comes from. Sound good? And if we did that for all women, would they deal with, cope with, handle all of these challenges better?
Yes.
Okay, Helen. Now comes strength. Can I use you as an example? This is the hospital story. So I met Happy Helen via her sister, who I met via my lawn mowing man. And what I love about Helen, which I shared with you at the beginning of the day, is how we would work all day in the garden, lifting heavy things and logs and trees and wheelbarrows full of stuff. And here's this 60-plus year young woman who will just keep going all day. I get a telephone call to say Helen's in the hospital, an Aldershot hospital, and she's broken her neck. Can you imagine what that's like to get that? And now Helen's my friend, but imagine what that was like for her family and her kids to get that information. So Kate and I visited on a regular basis, and what happens when you lie in the hospital? You waste away. So my goal was that there would come a stage where not only would Happy Helen be out of the hospital, but she would be fit and strong when we were back doing the gardening. And I'm very happy to share with you that Happy Helen trains with the Mangans at their home studio every Thankful Day Thursday. And look at her, she's just getting younger and younger. The power of a strong woman is what I'm going to finish with today. So, if my muscles are not pulling on my bones, what happens to my bones? Now, you've all heard my story of my mother. My mother was diagnosed with advanced osteoporosis at 74 years of age, and they put her in a walking frame and put her on Fosamax, which is the normal drug for osteoporosis. She came to her house, and doesn't listen to me, I'm her daughter, came in and said, this is bullshit, there's no way. So he throws the walking frame away, and the first thing he got her to do was stand on one leg. Because what when your muscles waste away, there's fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibres. Which are the first ones to waste away?
The fast twitch.
The fast twitch. But why do they waste away?
Because you don't use them.
Because we stop doing
The high intensity.
fast things. The slow twitch stay around because we're still doing slow things. But if your fast twitch muscle fibres waste away because you stop doing fast things. But there comes a time in your life, even if you're an old person, where you might trip over, for example, and you have to quickly put your foot down to stop yourself from falling. It's a fast reaction. But if the fast twitch muscle fibres have wasted away, what happens to your ability to stop yourself from falling? You fall. So the first thing Hannah got my mum to do was to stand on one leg to start getting balance back. It was a long, slow process, and it's all in the program. My mother will tell you the story. But anyway, we took her from advanced osteoporosis to slight osteopenia. So she had a bone mineral density test at 80, and the orthopaedic surgeon said, we have to run the test again because you're obviously, the test is wrong. You don't have osteoporosis anymore. You have slight osteopenia. Now, we've got teenagers that have got more than slight osteopenia. So you could probably only do this when you're 80. He said, we have to run the test again, or the Fosamax must be working. And so my mother puts her hand on the hips and she says, no way, you told me the Fosamax doesn't stop osteoporosis, it just slows it down. She said, well, I've reversed it because my son-in-law's got me lifting heavy things and boxing. My mother had heart surgery, apparently heart disease in the family. She had a stent operation. The first thing she said to the cardiologist when she came out of the operation was, when can I start boxing again? She was over 80 years of age. The cardiologist steps back and he says, nobody's ever asked me that question before. Because what do most people do when they've just come out of cardiac surgery? Sick, depressed, tired, can I have some ice cream? Like, my mother wanted to box again. One of the coaches at NACS bought her a new set of boxing gloves and had them there ready for her when she came out of the operation, so that she was excited about. Can I just use that as an example? If you've got somebody going into surgery who's an athlete, wouldn't you have their black belt next to them when they come out of the operation, or have their tennis racket or their running shoes next to them to inspire them to get going again, yes or no? So, osteoporosis, bone thin disease, that's the skeletal system. You don't have to get it. And if you've got it, you can build your bones back. Is that exciting? That comes from overloading your muscles, which pull on the bones. Now, the only way to get strong, we'll go back to fitness and strength, they're the same thing. What's the two things that are going to fix all of these challenges? Get fit and get strong. How do you get fit? Turn your body into a pump. Have the drugs through your brain. Now, strength training, exactly the same. The only thing they don't quite understand yet is what happens at that mitochondrial level with what goes on with the brain. They're not sure of how that chemical reactions, and they're studying it, and I'm watching really carefully to what's going on. It's all a bit technical for me to understand at the minute, so you'll have to talk to Kate about that. But the really cool thing is that when you overload your muscles, there's the same response goes to your brain. How many of you have had a really big, heavy strength workout and felt awesome afterwards? Now, I used to think that was just because I've overcome a challenge, I've lifted heavy, that I feel good about myself. But there's some really good research now to show that that's also going to pump happy drugs into your brain, and that's why you feel good. The big one for that is dopamine. Write it down. Dopamine is a reward drug. You'll often hear it now in relationship to kids playing computer games. That's why they're getting addicted to they're getting addicted to computer games, because they're winning a computer game, which puts dopamine into their brain. You'll also hear it in relationship to social media addiction, that the more time your phone pings because you've got another like on Facebook or another Instagram follower or whatever, that pumps dopamine into your brain because it's a reward drug. You've achieved because you've got another friend on Facebook. Well, is there a bigger achievement than lifting heavy, something really heavy? I can ask this room very passionately that question. If you do a PB in the gym, how do you feel?
Fantastic.
So what's the drug pumping through your brain? Dopamine, which is the reward drug, which is exactly the same as cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine. It's the same response in your brain. So, if I'm a woman and I'm grumpy and miserable and I'm full of cocaine, how good will I feel? But for how long? And what will happen to these? What will be the side effects? Will it be expensive? We can create the same response for an unhappy woman by getting her to lift heavy things and to get puffed. If my muscles are pulling on my bones get stronger. If I overload my muscles, what happens to my muscles? Now, what's the big challenge with women and strength training? Okay. The men in the room, do you have testicles?
Hopefully.
Yep.
The women in the room, do you have testicles?
Hopefully not.
Where is testosterone produced? In the testicles. Now, women, we have ovaries, and a small amount of testosterone is produced in the ovaries. Are there women that can produce more testosterone than others? And aren't they lucky? Now look at my face. You know women that say, oh, every time I look at a weight I put on muscle size? Do you know what I say? Awesome! You are so lucky that that happens for you. Now, K-Man's in the room and trained the best, or one of the best bodybuilders, female bodybuilders in the world. She won Miss USA. Now, K-Man is a top strength and conditioning coach, a top athletic trainer. She won Miss USA. How much muscle did she put on?
Lean muscle?
Lean muscle.
2 kilos. I'm a genius.
That's hard.
Now, if I put on 2 kilos of muscle, what will happen to the rate that I burn up everything that I put into my body?
Right.
I'm going to have a faster metabolism. And this is the really important thing to share with all of your women that talk about big muscles and strength training. The women in the world that lift heavy things, that compete on stage, that have got lean bodies, and they actually look big, don't they? When you see them in a picture, they actually look big. But why is that?
They do.
Because you can see their muscles. Why can you see their muscles?
They're dehydrated.
It's not burning anything else.
Because there's no fat on them. And why is there no fat on their muscles? Because they've got so much muscle. Now, for those of you that believe in God, this is going to be really controversial, but God must be a bloke. Because men have naturally more muscle, and they have testosterone in their testicles, which produces bigger muscles, but not that many. The only time that men get bigger muscles, and you can put on a K-Man, and I've asked him this question, I don't know, it's got to be 150 times now. How much muscle can you put on a man that's got high levels of testosterone and trains really hard? How much muscle can you put on a man?
Tops, lean muscle, 10.
That's course
Over years.
Weird.
If they're ectomorphic, 5. If you add drugs in there, a lot more.
Well, that's the point. What we see as big women is women with testosterone injection. Now, I have to share this story with you. I went to a Filex, which is a fitness conference in Australia, and there was a lady presenting on what happens to females when they do bodybuilding. Really interesting. She was so open, even more honest and open than you. This is what happened to her. She was training at a bodybuilding gym. Her boyfriend was a bodybuilder. Her coach was a bodybuilder. All the women in her life were bodybuilders. She started taking testosterone so she could look like her circle of influence. And she just got bigger and bigger and bigger. She said, but I didn't realise, and I'm actually paraphrasing her, this is not my story, it's her story. She said, until I went to a nightclub on the Gold Coast, and I went to the bathroom, and the bouncer threw me out. She said I had blue jeans, a white t-shirt, and he thought I was a bloke, and I was going to the girls' toilets. So he threw me down the stairs at the nightclub. She said, when I stood up, I saw my reflection in the window at the bottom of the nightclub on the street. And she said there was nothing about me that was feminine. I was a bloke. And if you look at her physiologically, she was full of testosterone. She showed us pictures of her clitoris. She showed us pictures of her Adam's apple. She showed us pictures of her completely flat chest, which was now plastic because she had implants. There was nothing about her anymore that was female because she was full of testosterone injected.
You may want to explain why the clitoris, because some people don't realise what happens to the clitoris.
It becomes a penis.
I even got it in one of your videos I did, and I'm like, ooh.
It looked like a penis. It was long and thick, like a small penis.
I think that's what's happening to the bodybuilders who take a lot of testosterone. They grow breasts.
Nipples?
The blood flow of milk feet, isn't it?
Yeah. For men's testicles shrink, their nipples grow, and the women's the clitoris grows.
This is called drugs, folks. This is not from having strong muscles and bone. So the best of the best of the best in the world women can put on about 2 kilos. Any woman in the world, whether she's a teenager or she's a mature woman, 60, 70, 80 years of age, if you can put 2 kilograms of muscle, particularly if the woman's between 30 plus and older, all you'll be doing is replacing what she's already lost. After the age of 20, we start losing muscle tissue. If we're not overloading our muscles, we're actually losing it. Do we all get that? As you get older, you lose muscle tissue. You only have to look at it. Even an old, thin woman that doesn't do strength training, she's going to be old like this. Her muscles are no longer even holding her in the upright position. They're not even strong enough to hold her shoulders back and hold her in the upright position. So if I can put 2 kilograms onto a woman that's 30, 40, 50, 60 years of age, I'll increase the speed of her metabolism, which means what? She'll turn into even more of a fat-burning machine. What am I going to be filling her brain with every time we train? Happy drugs. Dopamine, the big reward one. That's why people take cocaine and heroin. Hello, can you see why this is so exciting? So now I've got a woman who's fit and strong. What will happen to all of this stuff? What will happen to the fat on the back of her arm? Not from doing tricep push-downs. When her body is a fat-burning machine, every single fat cell opens when she sprints, and now the fat can be burned. The catecholamine endocrine system takes the fat out of the fat cell, puts it in the bloodstream so I can burn it off. Is anybody else as excited as me? You bloody should be. If you are a woman and you have a terrible period, you have a terrible pregnancy, you have a terrible menopause, what's the best thing that I can do for my client or for me?
Exercise, fit and strong.
Absolutely. And the food, I think, this is just my personal opinion now, if you can get somebody fit and strong, it's likely that the food will change all by itself. Or, and we will finish on this because it's time to go, I'm touching you for a reason. Has anybody noticed today, what kind of a diet it's on today? Because here's the challenge. With women, this is probably the biggest one. The emotional scale for food, and I'll use it again here, and Lydia, this is really important for all of us to get before we go. 0 about food is I'm completely logical, and food has no control over my life. I just eat when I'm hungry, I stop eating when I'm full, and my life is food is just part of my life, yes? 10, food is in complete control of my life. Every time I sit down, and this happened, I don't think it's happened today, which is awesome, but often people get angry at me at a Max workshop because there's lollies. Now, those of you that don't eat lollies, or you aren't hungry, wouldn't even know that there's lollies here, because you're not hungry. And when you have no emotional attachment to food, when do you eat? And what do you eat? Whatever's there, because you're hungry. So you just eat food, yes? If you are 10 on the emotional scale, so there's no logic anymore, it's all emotion. Now food is controlling my life, so I'm thinking I'd really like to have that chocolate. No, I shouldn't have that chocolate, but I'd really like to have it. How many calories in the chocolate? I think there's about 15 fat grams. I'd have to exercise for about 32 minutes to get rid of it. Is it worth having it? I really want to have it. And there's a war going on inside your head about every time you eat some food. For some people, that is a nuclear war. That is a really horrible. Every time you sit down to food, or there's food available to you, or you're even thinking about going out for dinner, somebody invites you out for dinner at Christmas on the 24th of December, you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if I should go, because those people, they're not vegetarians, or the food that they eat is going to have too much fat in it, or too much sugar in it, and I probably shouldn't go, but I really want to go because I really like them, but I really shouldn't go, and it's something that's happening in a month's time. Can you see where you're not in control of your food anymore? Yes? Now, this is highly controversial, what I'm about to say. Most blokes sit down here, most. They eat because that's logical. This is the guy that says, oh, you're a bit fat, mate. And you go, yeah, I am. Here, if you say to a woman, you're a bit fat. Ooh.
You're not walking out of that situation.
Now, is that logical or emotional?
They will run out of the room and go comfort themselves with chocolate.
With what? With what? Yes, I'm fat, food's controlling my life, but what do I do now?
We need more food.
I eat. Is that logical? It's purely emotional, yes? Who has the most challenges with diets? Now, it's very general. But But if I'm fit and I'm strong and I've got happy drugs pumping through my brain and I've got a fast fat burning metabolism, yeah? Now let's say the worst case scenario, you sit down there and you eat every single lolly or chocolate that's on this table.
I think you'd be sick.
See, what was that? Logical or emotional, that answer? It's pure logical. Of course you will. Are there people, and I, if you haven't dealt with this, I have to share this with you. I've had obese clients that will sit down to, one of my clients was sitting in her car one day outside the gym, and she had a commercial box of biscuits, Arnott's biscuits. That's where there's 3 trays of biscuits. That's got to be, I don't know, 100 biscuits more. And she was on the last tray. She had eaten all of them in one sitting. Now, is that logical?
Finish it.
We sat down and we finished them together, and that's for another time, because that's called non-judgment. She was so embarrassed that I caught her doing that I just sat in the car and we finished them all together. Because this whole thing of putting somebody up this end of the scale is if food's controlling my life, I'm now a bad person, because that's totally emotional. But if I can pump happy drugs through somebody's brain, so instead of eating a packet of biscuits, we get them sprinting, and now they've got happy chemicals pumping through their brain, will they feel better?
Yeah.
If I take them to the gym and they do a workout and do a personal best, will they feel better? Will they be, if they eat then an entire table of biscuits, and their body is now a fat-burning machine, are they more likely to burn it up?
Yes.
Let's have a look at quickly the endocrine system on a we have to go, but very quickly before you go. I put sugar into my body. What does insulin do? And this is really important because you're going to hear this all the time. Insulin's bad, we're insulin resistant, we've got type 2 diabetes because of insulin, we're fat because of insulin. What is the responsibility of insulin inside your body? Great response. Isn't that interesting? We all hear that all the time, don't we? Insulin's really bad. Have you ever asked why is it bad and how does it work? This is a big challenge today. When somebody says to you insulin's bad, you have to ask them, force them to answer the question, why is it bad and how does it work? And if they can't answer that question, should you listen to what they've got to say? Because everybody, literally, and I'm being very general, but our profession is just full of sugar, carbohydrates bad,
Calories.
insulin's bad, the whole bit. Ask why and how. What does insulin do? When you eat food, it has a responsibility.
Isn't it a quick burst of energy?
No. But isn't that interesting?
Doesn't it break down glucose?
Close. And a lot of people, that will be the answer. Insulin is responsible for
Transporting.
opening the cells to take in food. Not sugar, not glucose. It is in the endocrine system, the hormonal system, it is the hormone responsible for opening the cell to take in the food. So insulin will spike when you eat anything. Got it? Anything. Now there are people who study that. The endocrinologists study, okay, what happens does it spike higher when you eat sugar, or does it spike higher when you eat fat? And some will suggest that it spikes higher when you eat sugar, but fish will spike your insulin and bread will spike your insulin.
Sugar is in everything.
Yeah, but meat will too, and there's no sugar in there. So what does, just there's a great thing to walk away from. What's insulin responsible for?
Opening the cells.
It's a little gate that opens the cell to put stuff in the cell. It's pretty easy, yeah? So here's the great question. If I'm really fit and if I'm really strong, so I've got an internal organ system that's working well, including my endocrine system, when I eat all of this food, let's just say I eat the whole lot. So now I've got fat, sugar, protein because it's chocolate, I've got all 3. What will happen to my insulin?
I'll be like jumping like a kid.
No, but no, what will insulin have to do? It's going to have to go berserk because I've got this whole heap of stuff here. Now the interesting thing is the glucose molecules, the actual sugar and carbohydrate molecules are bigger. So what insulin wants to do is take those out of your bloodstream really quickly, because if they're running around in your bloodstream, and K-Man's example is brilliant, if you've got a whole bunch of semi-trailers driving on the road, what happens to the road really quickly? It gets damaged. If you've got bicycles riding on the road, The road lasts a long time. If you've got semi-trailers running around on the road, it gets damaged. Those big glucose molecules, you don't want those running around in your bloodstream because they bang up against the arteries and cause grazes and little cuts and little nicks in the artery, yeah? So if I've got little grazes and little cuts and little nicks in my artery, and now I've got cholesterol fat running around there as well, what will catch on to those little nicks and grazes and cuts? But now I've got cholesterol sticking in my arteries because I've damaged my arteries with glucose molecules. Can you see why people say sugar's bad? Oh, of course, but you have to understand why rather than just saying that it's bad. But if my endocrine system's working really well, so the insulin opens up the cell and I pop all of it away really quickly, have I got a challenge? So now my sugar's full now in my half a kilo that I can store, and my fat cells are open and taking the fat in, and my amino acid pool is taking the protein in. Pretty exciting? Challenge, if I've got more than 500 grams, more than half a kilo, what happens now? Well, I can't store anymore.
The body will try to overheat and try to burn it off. If not, then it goes through lipogenesis.
And it'll turn to fat. So he's got it. But what's the easy fix? What's the easiest to fix? If you've got a big pile of glucose molecules running through your bloodstream, what's the quickest fix? Because when you sprint, everybody up, last one for the day. We're going to do a really endurance effort. You ready? 19, count up. Go!
1, 2, 3, 4,
Harder!
5, 6, 7,
Woo!
8,
Go!
9, faster! 1, 2, 3,
Harder!
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
What do most people do when they had a big sugar meal?
Sit down.
So even if you've eaten a big pile of stuff that you think you shouldn't have, it's bad for you, you can't have it, what's the best thing to do? As exercise professionals, when we get people fit, we turn their body into fat burning machines so the fat gets burnt up quicker because the respiratory quotient is a high percentage of fat. But what happens to the sugar? That sprinting session you do, there's no fat burnt there. What's the only energy source? Only sugar, it's only carbohydrate. So to wrap all of that up, if we get all women, all men, all kids fit and strong, what will happen to their brain? They will pump epidurals. Will they feel happier? Yes. Will they feel better? Yes. Dopamine's a reward drug, so how will you, I've achieved something. How do you feel when you've achieved something?
Awesome.
Can you see why 10-second sprints throughout the day is a really great idea? Yes. Would it be a great app to have on your phone?
Yeah.
Would it help with all kind of mental illness and mental challenges? I'm not saying it's the cure, but would it help?
Yes.
And what if it was the cure?
Yeah. It was that simple.
What if, as a menopausal woman, as an emotional woman, instead of feeling emotional and eating some more Tim Tams, what if I sprinted on the spot and pumped happy drugs through my brain, did a heavy strength training session, pumped dopamine through my brain? How would I feel?
Awesome.
And if I put on 2 kilos of muscle because I'm a world champion bodybuilder, what would happen to my metabolism?
Oh, sugar, fat,
I would look amazing because I wouldn't have any fat on my body because my fat would be getting burnt up by my respiratory quotient being higher in fat, and you'll be able to see my muscles, which women say, oh, but I'm getting so big. Really? Is it possible that the big thing hanging down the back of your arm is not your tricep muscle? Is it possible that that's fat hanging down the back of your arm? Yes or no? Now, you don't say this to women, Amit. Is it possible that that fat stuff hanging down the back of your leg is not your gluteus maximus? The gluteus maximus is the biggest muscle in your body. You want that thing to get bigger if you can, because if your butt gets bigger muscularly, which is exactly what you said, what will happen to the fat on your ass? Is that exciting?
Yeah, that is.
So the fat that's hanging off your body, the big stuff, the women are big from fat, we're not big from muscle. And if we could put on some muscle, we would be thinner, we would be smaller. The bodybuilders that stand on stage without any testosterone pumping through their needle are little tiny women. They're size 4 and size 6 and they just look fantastic. So if we can get people fit and strong, that'd be awesome.